Hello everyone. Welcome to MAC1105 in the spring 2023 semester. My name is Ethan Williams and I'll be your instructor for the semester. This video will be an introduction video to show you really what the class is all about, what's in the syllabus, what's on Canvas for you. And really, because this is an online class, you want to think about this as if it was your first day of class, what would we be doing? We'd be talking about the syllabus, talking about the resources available to you, the structure of the course, where to find the resources, all that good stuff. The most important thing I can say though about watching this video, it'll end up being about 40 minutes long, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you pretty much where everything, every resource, everything you could possibly need for this course outside of finding help outside of school would be available to you. I have this course and all my online courses set up very straightforward so that when you get on Canvas, there's not a lot of complications. There's not a lot of things to look at. It's just should be very direct. This is what's here. This is what I need. I don't need anything extra. And for the purposes of this video, I am showing you this video in my section 29 course, but this also will apply to section 28. So if you're in college algebra, MAC 1105, section 28 or 29 for the spring 2023 semester, this video is for you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly, relatively briefly go over the syllabus, and then I'll show you exactly what's on Canvas. So I'll start by going to the Simple Syllabus tab. TCC has made a change this semester, and going forward, instead of having our typical syllabus, we'll have what's called a Simple Syllabus. It's very straightforward and direct. I think it's a lot easier, and there is these tabs here. So if you're unsure about something, you can just click on it. You don't even have to scroll down. It'll take you to the information. Right, and I'm in student view, so what I see is exactly what you should see. Right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Simple syllabus. Like I said, this is for section 28 and 29. I'm just showing you in the section 29 Canvas course. My name is Ethan Williams. My email address is ethan.williams@tcc.fl.edu. Now I work and only teach online, so I don't have an actual phone or office location on campus. It's all online. So my office location is exactly that, virtual. You can send me an email or a message in Canvas Messenger. I know many students prefer that way, and it will go to my email. My office hours are Mondays and Tuesdays in the evening time, 7 to 8 p.m. Course description. This is the same course description on Workday when you signed up for the course. You can read through the course description if you want. I'm not going to go in the details of all the course descriptions and learning outcomes and all that stuff. I'll just speak to them at a high level. But really, this course is all about learning about different kinds of functions, linear functions like lines, quadratic functions, factoring, absolute value functions, exponents and logarithms, and graphing all of those things, and also some applications, so word problems. Now, to be in this course, you either have a grade of C or better in MAT 1033, or an appropriate score on a placement test. Right, and if you want, you can read through the course outcomes and general learning, education learning outcomes yourself, and also the program learning outcomes. But they pretty much all say the same thing. You're going to learn those broad topics I just discussed. If you have some familiarity with them already, that will help you out. You should have some familiarity at least with linear functions and factoring, quadratic functions, because that is part of the prerequisite. Right, so coming down to course expectations, you will be asked to complete a variety of assignments throughout the course. These are meant to give you practice and help prepare you for quizzes and exams to complete the aforementioned learning outcomes. Please be sure to watch the lecture videos corresponding to each topic prior to completing each assignment. After I run through the syllabus, what I'll do is I will show you what's on Canvas set up for you. I have lecture videos for every section along with the notes, so you can follow along, fill the notes out yourself. And it's all broken down in an ordered and straightforward way so that you can actually work the homework alongside of watching the lecture videos and filling out the notes. Right. So really what I'll talk about here is the very general kind of categories of assignments. Of course, math class homework is probably the most important thing to make sure you're ready for the tests, because the tests are going to be the biggest portion of your grade. The online homework, so everything, this is an online course, everything is online. It's all online through what is called Lumen online homework management system. You don't have to sign up for it. As soon as you're on Canvas, you'll be able to access it by entering one of the assignments, so don't worry about that. And you don't need a book to access it. So you do not need to buy anything extra. But really the way homework is, it's 18% of your grade, and you'll see in the pacing schedule, it is due Friday nights at midnight. All your assignments in this course are going to be due at midnights, just to make things easier on everyone. So I wouldn't put something due at like a 5 p.m. or a noon or anything like that. Homework is going to be exactly like a normal homework would work in person, at least for math. You can always keep working the problems until you get them right. You'll have the answers available to you, and then you can get a new version of the problem to try to work on it from there. Quizzes, you'll have weekly quizzes except for the weeks that there are tests. Quizzes are worth 9% of your final grade. And one thing I'll mention about homework and quizzes is that you can use what are called late passes. You'll have plenty of late passes throughout the course, which will extend the deadline, and I will show you how those work. If you're not familiar with it, you don't get extra credit for not using them, but you do have a limited amount of late passes, so you don't want to be in the habit of falling behind. It's really for those of you that might have something come up, you miss a week or two, and you need to catch up, and you want to reach out to me, but instead of me having to adjust all the deadlines for your assignments, you can just use those late passes and get caught back up. You don't have to wait until Monday or whenever you actually come back and can email me that you need to catch up. The difference between quizzes and homeworks is you only have a limited amount of attempts per problem, and then that's it. So for a quiz, you'll get 4 attempts per problem. Now, I will show you how late passes work, so I'm not really going to go through those, but the main thing is you can only use late passes on homework assignments and quizzes, practice tests, and the final exam. Late passes cannot be used. And here will be a little reminder, but you can always come back to this video because I'm going to show you how to actually use the late passes. All right, so the other types of assignments that are going to involve math and are for part of your grade are the practice tests. So there will be a practice test for each test, including the final exam. So that will be 4 practice tests, because there are 3 unit tests and a final exam. These will make up 3% of your final grade. Right? It doesn't sound like a lot. The intention with these practice tests, they will be exactly like the regular tests, with the exception there might be some extra problems for a little bit of extra practice. And also the actual test will have some multiple choice, about half multiple choice. The practice test will be just like your homework assignments. They're going to be all fill in the blank for the most part. One thing that's important, I don't really offer any extra credit, but there is extra credit associated with practice tests. So practice tests are set up like a homework assignment. You can work on problems as much as you need to end up getting them right, getting the grade you want, especially because the practice tests are graded. You do want to do as well as you can on them as possible. But if you get at least a 90% on the practice test, I will give you a 3% bonus to that corresponding test grade. That might not sound like a lot on the face of it, but what will end up happening is at the end of the semester, if you have at least a 90% on every practice test, that'll boost your final overall grade by around 2%. Think about it this way. How many times have you been in a class where you get like a 77, 78? You really want that B, you're really close, but you're just not there. Well, the bonus points would do that for you. On top of better preparing you for the tests themselves, you can get that extra boost by actually getting at least an A, or not at least a 90% on the practice test. All right, unit tests. So these will be the tests. We have 3 of them. Each test will be open the week it is due. So all the quizzes and tests, depending on the week, are due on Sundays. For the unit test and the final exam, these are the only assignments that aren't going to be available to you all semester, so you can't just jump into them whenever you want. But they will be available for the entire week, so Monday to Sunday, and you'll be given 90 minutes for each test. And you may take the test at any time, you just must do it in one sitting. So as soon as you start the test, you have to sit down for the full 90 minutes or however long it takes you to take the test and do it just like if you were in class. You can't decide, oh, I'm going to take it in the first half on one day and then come back to it the next day. That's not how tests work. Along with the final exam is exactly like that, except it's 2 hours long instead. But the schedule for the test will be in the pacing schedule, which is below. So once again, when we get down to that, I'll talk about that a little bit. The test will be proctored using HonorLock. At this point, I think most students are aware of that and what HonorLock is. If you're not very aware of what HonorLock is, basically it's an application for your browser that you log into, and essentially, because I can't have eyes on all of you because this is an online class, when you take those tests, you will take them with your webcam on. And you will need Google Chrome to download HonorLock. You will need a webcam, and the only other thing you will need is a photo ID. I recommend having, just the student ID. It's usually easier to pick up, but you can use like a driver's license or any other type of photo ID, even one from high school if you're dual enrolled, stuff like that. All right, the 3 tests are worth collectively 45% of your final grade, so each one's 15%. And once again, they are due midnights on the Sundays of the week they are due. Here's a little tidbit on just makeup tests. If you just miss a test because you didn't feel like taking it on time, you're not going to get a second opportunity. If you do miss a test, the final exam can replace your lowest test grade, so any 0 would be replaced by your final exam grade. But if you are excused for a valid reason and you have documentation, then I will allow you to make up the test, but within a reasonable amount of time. I don't want students taking the test a month after it was due. You should be making it up within the week, unless there's some very, very extreme circumstance where you might be out a couple weeks. All right, and so like I said, the final exam, the main difference is that it's comprehensive or cumulative. So it's everything throughout the course. It's worth a little bit more, 20% of your grade. It'll be 2 hours long. I think it's actually, because we're online, you get an extra 15-minute buffer, so it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. And like I said, if you miss a test, or if you just do poorly on a test, your lowest test grade will be replaced by your final exam grade, assuming it is better. All right, course outline. So the topics included, like I mentioned above, the topics are mainly based around different kinds of functions and getting familiarity with them and their graphs. So we'll be looking at functions and functional notation, domains and ranges of functions, graphs of functions and relations, operations of functions. So this is all very general. And then we'll get down to specific types of functions like inverse functions, linear, quadratic, and rational functions. So lines, parabolas, and rational functions may be a little more on the new side. Absolute value and radical functions also might be a little on the new side. You might be familiar with them. Exponential and logarithmic properties, functions, and equations. You might have some familiarity with exponents, maybe not a lot with logarithms. That's okay. And then also applications. So in general, word problems associated with each one of these big categories. How do we solve a word problem using exponential logarithms? How do we solve a word problem using lines, linear equations, or parabolas, things like that? All right, so pacing schedule. This is a photo. You can't click on it, but you could always screenshot it and download it to your desktop if you want it offline to have it available for you. This is really how the course is set up. So one thing I'll point out here is I have it very structured so that once you're a couple weeks in, you'll pretty much know what to expect. Here, Monday is just the start of the week, so I want you to think of our weeks for this course to be Monday through Sunday. Monday's kind of a new start. Then you work through and do the weekly assignments. Homeworks are due on Fridays of the corresponding week, and then the homework assignment that's due on that week is due right here. Now notice, in general, most weeks there are 2 homework assignments due, except at the beginning there is a lot of prerequisite type of material in the first section, the first test material. So that's why you see 3 assignments instead of 2 for a few weeks here. There should be a lot of overlap. You should have some familiarity with some of this at the beginning. On Saturdays, you won't see an actual due date in Canvas because I can't separate it, but we do have discussion boards. You have to make an initial post by Saturday, with the exception of test weeks. On test weeks, the practice tests are due the day before. So just keep that in mind. Homeworks are due on Fridays. Saturdays, your initial discussion posts, which I'll talk about after we get out of the syllabus, are due, except on test weeks. When we have test weeks, the practice test is due. And then Sundays are when your quizzes or tests are due. Now, the only week that you don't have a normal quiz or test due until the last couple of weeks, where I don't do any quizzes after the last test and before the final, is really this first week here. We do have an introduction syllabus quiz. So after reading, or you don't have to read the syllabus unless you want to go into more detail, but after watching this video, there will be a syllabus or introduction quiz that you want to look at and take care of. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get out of the syllabus as well. One thing I do like to point out is quizzes inside each test are cumulative, meaning you'll notice quiz 1 starts with section 1.1, which is the very first section, and it goes to 3.1, which is the end of this week 2. Now quiz 2 starts at 1.1 and goes to 3.3. And then quiz 3 starts at 1.1 and goes to 4.2. If you do wonder why I have them broken up, so you'll see here on week 4, the quiz goes to 4.2, but you will do 5.1 for homework. That's really because when we talk about section 5.1, it's different from these first 2. And so we don't really want to introduce a new topic that's completely different from the rest into the quiz. It will be more along the lines of what's in 5.2 and 5.3 as well. What this does, students in the past have tended to like this, even though they don't like it at the beginning. And the reason they like this is by the time you get to the practice tests and tests, that material from 1.1 that you may not have seen 3 weeks ago, and in another class you've actually seen in the past week because it was on the most recent quiz. So it's just a constant refresher of what was at the beginning, so you're more prepared for the tests. All right. And then another thing I'll point out here for the pacing, we have this final week here that's actually a week in class. So you'll see week 15 here. It says practice final. Basically, after the 3rd test, we have 1 section, and then your priority for the last 2 weeks of class is really studying for the final because our final exam is due May 3rd. So just kind of keep that in mind, and I'll remind you when we get closer and closer. If you're looking at this pacing and wondering why don't we have really anything to do? Well, it's not that you don't have anything to do, it's you should be working on the practice final. And then one, I guess, little side note here is that because not everyone might be familiar with HonorLock and how it's going to work, at least in our course, is that there is a HonorLock practice test due on January 29th. So that's the end of the 3rd week. It should be pretty quick, especially if you've used HonorLock before. There's no math involved in it. and the directions are all in it. I also have a little section which I'll show you on how to get onto HonorLock, but really this is just a homework assignment that at least you should be helping. It should help prepare you to get on HonorLock, so when test one comes around, you can focus on the math part. You don't want to be stressed out about am I going to be able to get onto HonorLock or not. You want to just focus on the test. So that's the intention of this. And then some other important dates. The last day to add a class is January 11th. So whether that's this course, another course, anything else in general, you can add a class up until the 11th, which is on Wednesday of the first week. You can drop a class and still receive a refund up to the 13th, which is the Friday of the first week. This is very important because if you try to drop after the 13th, even if it's on the 14th, you'll have to actually withdraw. It'll go on your transcript as a W. You don't want that. And probably the bigger point is that you won't get a refund. Other important dates, so Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January 16th. There's no class. That doesn't necessarily apply to an online class because it's just one day out of 7 for us. But if you do have in-person classes, be aware the Monday of the second week, there is no classes. And then we also have spring break, which I have outlined up here on the pacing schedule, the 13th through the 17th. And then we have the weekends on either side. Really, spring break starts the 13th and it runs through the following Sunday, so the 19th. And you'll notice that you actually have tests due the 12th, so the day before spring break starts. That way you get your tests out of the way and you can, at least for this course, enjoy spring break and don't have to worry about taking a test when you get back, because a lot of times that's how things work out. So wanted to help you out there. So course grade evaluations, factors that determine the grade. We have discussions like I described above. There will be worth 5% of your grade. Homework's 18, quizzes are 9. The tests are 45%, which are 15% each. The final exam is 20, and the practice tests are 3. And then the grading scale is a standard grading scale. 90s are an A, 80s are a B, and so on. Some tips for student success. I won't go into all the details and read everything here. The main thing I want to say is really this first sentence in the very first point is stay on schedule and do not get behind. You really have to motivate yourself in this course. I will send out weekly announcements, even multiple times per week, reminding you what's due this week, reminder our homework's due today because it's Friday, and so on. But you want to stay on the schedule and not get behind it. It's very hard to get caught up if you fall behind. So just keep that in mind. And I have had students in the past with online classes think, oh, this is online asynchronous is what it's called because of the advent of synchronous online classes through Zoom or something. That doesn't mean that you can just work this class whenever you want. There's a schedule, there are due dates, so you have to make sure you're staying on schedule. One thing I also would like to mention here is that in any math course, the recommendation is going to be about 2 to 3 hours of homework per 1 hour of lecture. So this is a 3-credit course, meaning roughly 3 hours of lecture per week. That means, if you do the math out there, that's 3 or 6 to 9 hours of working the homework. Just give a little buffer of an hour because you do have to actually watch the lectures. You're probably going to want to plan on doing about 7 to 10 hours a week for this course. For some of you, you might not have to spend that much time. Others of you might have to spend more time, whatever it takes. But just keep that in mind. And I really stress this because a lot of students like to try to wait until Friday to do their homework. Maybe you have a full-time job and you just don't have time, which I understand. That's why I have late passes as well. But if you are putting off doing everything, watching the lectures and everything until Friday, just be ready that you're going to have a very busy Friday if you're focused on doing everything for the week, all the homework assignments. Again, I'll let you read through this. Most of these are answered on on our Canvas site specifically, and I'll talk about them as I go through that, so I'm not going to spend time. But just beware that, you know, I have like a recommendation for completing a week in this course in the syllabus. So if you want to read through this on your own or just be reminded of it, by all means. But I'll describe going through this process, what has worked for students best in the past for online math classes. Some other stuff. So one thing I won't skip here is the SAS office location. So if you're a student that gets some sort of accessibility waiver, maybe you get the big one for an online course, is extra time to take tests. So nothing in this class is time besides tests, but if you get extra times for tests, make sure you get that letter from the office that says, hey, I'm supposed to get extra time. Maybe I get double time, maybe I get time and a half, whatever it is. That's going to be the big one for this course, for an online course. So make sure you get that letter to me so I can get that worked out for you. And then another point is if you get these accommodations in high school, it doesn't automatically flow over to college. So if you're dual enrolled, if this is your first semester in college and you got extra test time in high school, that doesn't mean you're going to get extra test time in college. You have to make sure you actually go through and, you know, set up an appointment and discuss with them. So that's why this information's here. Academic resources outside of class. So the TCC Learning Commons, probably the number one resource if you live in Tallahassee. If you're already on campus for other courses, that's probably the best thing for you. The tutors there are trained specifically in our homework system, and so they should be very capable of helping you out. There is online tutoring with a video here of how to access that, and also another type of online tutoring called the Smart Thinking. It's hosted through the Learning Commons, but you really use this for hours which the Learning Commons is closed. So you can click on this link and figure out when is the Learning Commons open, when are they closed. When they're closed, you want to use Smart Thinking. And then, you know, we don't always use the library for math classes because we're not going to just pick up a math book, and they probably don't have the math books anyway. But the library can be a quiet place. It's attached to the Learning Commons. So if you don't need the computer access that the Learning Commons has, if you have your own computer and you want to work quietly, you can always go to the library. Attendance policy for this course, very straightforward. TCC requires attendance to be taken in every class now. For online courses like ours, our attendance is taken once a week. So what I'll do is, since our homeworks are due on Fridays, by then, at least by Friday night, so Saturday, you should have worked at least on something. If you've worked on something, if you've contacted me with a reason why you couldn't work on something this week, as long as you've done anything for the course and I can tell based on your grades for the week or through email, then you'll be marked as present for that week. If you do nothing, so let's say you're out of class for whatever reason, but you also don't contact me, then you'll be marked absent. Of course, you know, if you are very sick or if you just don't have access to the technology because of whatever is going on for over a week, and you come back and contact me and let me know what's happened, I can go back and change your absent to a present. So just be aware of that. Withdrawal. For withdrawing from the course, that is your responsibility. The deadline is March 30th, as I outlined above. And this is the last opportunity. If you feel like you're not performing as well as you think you can in the course, you basically have up until March 30th, which is about a month before the semester ends, to make a decision on whether you should withdraw. This is also after spring break. It's after the second test, so you will have 2 test grades in additionally. If you forget to withdraw everything and you stop attending, you stop doing anything, all your grades will be input as zeros, and that would include after this point, like a test 3 and your final exam would be 0. So it's pretty much an automatic F. It's impossible to pass if you don't do those two things. Makeup work, long story short, you have late passes. I am very reasonable otherwise. So if you run out of late passes and you've had a reason why you couldn't keep up, I would gladly work with you, give you more. I'll also, for those assignments like practice tests specifically and tests, I'll allow you to take them late as long as you have adequate reason, appropriate documentation. And then the last point, last 2 points, I guess, academic dishonesty. There's a code of conduct in the student handbook, which you should be given when you enroll in your first semester at TCC. You can also find it. But long story short, cheating in this class, really you can only cheat if you're cheating on the tests. So if you're not using honor lock properly, or you're having someone try to take the test for you, or maybe you have someone else in the room while you're taking the test and they're telling you how to do the problems, that sort of thing, then that is obviously cheating. You will receive a grade of 0 for that assignment, and depending on the circumstance, you can be removed for the course. And then the last thing, student responsibility. I won't read through all this, but long story short is I enjoy my job. I teach because I like to teach. But while I hate it, I don't enjoy it when students don't pass. Really that is on you. I'm always here to help. You can reach out. I'm always available as a resource. If you email me, I will pretty much email you back within the day. If you email me during the office hours times as described above, I will respond to you within an hour or two, probably quicker. But I will give you the grade you earn. I will not give you the grade you think you deserve. So at the end of the semester, please don't ask for extra credit or anything like that, because I will not be giving that out. You have ample opportunity with late passes if you're falling behind to catch back up. There is the extra credit. I also have, really between my test and final exam grades making up 65% of your grade. That's pretty low for a math course in general. Most around 75 to 85%. You're putting a higher amount of percentage in your test. I give you a little less because I understand the importance of doing your homework, and I know it can be demotivating to work so hard on the homework for only something that's worth like 10% of your grade. So our homework is worth almost double that, and that's with a good reason. All right. So that's the syllabus. And now what I'm going to do in the last 10 or so minutes is I'll just run through what's available on Canvas for you. So like I said, this is the same thing you should see. This is my student view. In the top here, course information, there's this introduction video. There is a free online graphing calculator, but what I'll do is I'll go to calculator information first, talk about that, because this is a math class. You do need a calculator. A scientific calculator at minimum is required for this course. There are a lot of different versions of the TI-30, but ranging between 10, I think, and $20-ish. It doesn't really matter which version you buy, but that's plenty good for what we do. There is one section in this course that requires a graphing calculator. If you already have a graphing calculator like a TI-83 or 84, by all means use that, but those things cost about $100. And for those of you that aren't going to go into a math type of major, it's probably not even necessary. So that's why I allow you to use the Desmos online graphing calculator. Even on your test, it's free. You don't have to register for anything, and you're allowed to go to that website when you take tests. It's the only website you can go to outside of the website you're on, Canvas, to take the test. And that's why I highly recommend saving money and simply getting a scientific calculator if you don't already have a graphing calculator. All right, so if I go back here and click on this link, This will talk a little bit about Desmos. I have a little short video, and I have a link here. I would recommend saving this to your favorites so that when it comes time to take the test, you can just load it. The problem is if you don't go to the one that's /calculator and you just go to desmos.com, it takes you to, you know, this site, and it's not going to be recognized as being allowed by HonorLock because there's a lot of different links you can take here. And yeah, if you click on the graphing calculator, it'll take you here. So just save this one. Okay. There is a textbook that's included in this course with links. I in general don't recommend it because I do have lecture videos or with notes rather, that go through the problems, and you know, it's more annotated. The nice thing about books is always that there's a lot of buildup and you can kind of read through motivation for why you might want to learn something. But it's really up to you if you use this. It's not required. And here are two extra things. I'll speak more to them when the time comes, but the one section that we have that requires a graphing calculator, I have a specific handout for it right here. The next little bit is your discussion. So if you click, I'll just click on week 2, for example, it will discuss how the discussion boards work. So basically, it will list the outcomes for the week or the week and the past week in case it's a buildup of 2 weeks for the discussion. And what you do is you post an initial post by Saturday. And you just follow directions here. State the learning outcomes that you're comfortable with, state the learning outcomes you felt to be most challenging and why, and then list the questions that you struggled with. And that's worth 4 points. And then you want to respond to, this should actually say 2. That's a little bit confusing, so I'll switch that. You respond to 2 of your peers. They're worth 3 points each, so 6 points total. If you respond to more than 2, that's great. You don't get extra points. But the point here is you want to respond by Sundays, and that's when the due date for the discussion is going to be viewed. I can't break it down into 2 separate assignments. So while the discussions officially due on Sundays in Canvas, make sure you're doing the initial post by Saturday. That way people have something to respond to. That's the main thing. If people don't have anything to respond to, how can you do this second one? What typically happens in these discussion boards is you'll make your post. Someone might respond to you. Not everyone gets a response, of course. But it can be helpful to see what did your fellow classmates do. They have access to the same resources in general as you, but they might know some extra ones that were super helpful for them that are not on Canvas. They're not one of the videos, and they can respond and help you out there. One thing I do, if I notice that many people are struggling with the same problem in a week, is I will make an announcement that will just talk very quickly about what's going on and how you approach the problem. So that's the discussions. Quizzes. So I have this little outline for how quizzes work. I discussed them already for how quizzes work. The main thing that I didn't discuss already is that your lowest quiz will be dropped. This is automatically computed by Canvas as you go through the semester. So if you've taken two quizzes, the lowest one, even if one's like a 95 and one's 100, the 95 will get dropped. It'll show your 100% quiz grade, but then if you get a lower than a 95 in the future, it'll switch and drop that one. So just be aware of that. It's dropping it as you go. It won't be dropped at the end of the semester. And quizzes, pretty much everything besides discussion boards in this first syllabus or introduction quiz are done using Lumen Home. So what you have to do, this is all you have to do, or should be all you have to do, is when you click on an assignment, you can read this if you want. I never read it, so I don't really know what I'm agreeing to, but we all do this. I read that and I agree. And what it will do is it'll let you start the assignment. So the main thing with quizzes is you'll see is, I'm just gonna get this wrong. You get 4 attempts. It'll actually tell you how many tries you have remaining right here. So I have 1 try left because I've done 3, and now I've done all 4. And it recorded a score of 0 points. I never got it right. And once I get all 4 attempts through and I get it wrong or right, it'll give me the answer. You can press this little key and see the answer. And then you can move on to the next question. Quizzes, like every assignment except the 3 tests and the final exam, you don't have to do in one sitting. So let's say I can only work on that one. I'll refresh simply to refresh, and then I go back and I enter quiz 1 again. It'll remember where I'm at. I can resume it. It knows that I got the first one wrong. You're not going to be able to do it again and trick it, but you can go back and work on it. And you can keep doing things like that. So you can keep working on problems as you need to. Now I'll go back here because I want to show you. You may have noticed when I open the quiz, what happens is there's this little button that says you can redeem the late pass. This, of course, isn't due yet, so I don't need to use it, and you don't want to use it if it's not due yet because you can resume. But if you are past resume, it won't let you resume. Here it will say work in practice mode or something like that. So you'd want to click redeem late pass. And I'll say you have this many late passes. You can redeem 1 to extend the date, and then I extend it, and now it's due at the future date. And that works with quizzes and homeworks only. And then the other thing I want to point out students often have a question on is as soon as you start an assignment, quiz, homework, practice tests, even tests, although you work those all in one sitting, is it gets graded as you go. It doesn't mean it's going to be your final grade. So that's what I mean by you don't have to do it in one sitting. I started quiz 1. That's why it's telling me I actually got a 0 on it. But I can go back, work on it, improve my grade, and it will improve as I go. The last thing I want to mention is that if you go into the grades tab and you'll see, okay, I need to continue working on quiz 1. If you click on it in here, it's not going to work. You must enter, and just make it a habit of entering every assignment through the home tab. If you enter it anywhere else, it will probably give you an error. So enter every assignment through the home tab. So practice tests, I already talked about how the bonuses work. You can click on that for an example. But the way the practice tests work, since you've already agreed, you don't have to go back and re-agree in every assignment, is they're longer because they basically mimic a test. Like I said, they're a little bit longer than a normal test. And you just go through and you can work them. The difference is you can work them as many times as you want. So let me find a question that will be easier to do this. So you'll notice here it says I have 3 tries remaining on this question, but I can refresh it 99 times. So I don't actually have an unlimited number of tries, but if I get it wrong 3 times, it will give me the answer and I can get a similar question. I don't have to say, oh, well, I got my 3 attempts wrong, I'm done. You just get a similar question. You can always click get a similar question after less than 3 tries, but it does count down your 100. I've never ever once had a student use all 100 tries on a problem, so just keep that in mind. There is one other thing I want to show you about these questions. So I'm going to get this question right real quick and then show you something that's a little helpful. All right, so what I did is I went ahead and got this question right. See, it gives me a green checkbox. If you hit the key, it's going to tell me the same thing because I got it right. But you'll notice now it says I recorded a score of 4 out of 4. So a lot of times you might work a problem, you get it right, but maybe you don't feel confident that if you did it again, you'd get it right and you're really stuck. So what you can do is you can still get a similar problem. It will always keep your recorded score of 4, even if you get the problem wrong. So let's say I do that and I get the problem wrong. I'll just, for the sake of it, get it wrong 3 times like I did the other one. I got it wrong every time, but I still have my 4 out of 4 points. So keep that in mind. You can always work a problem more even after you got it correct if you want extra practice on that problem. Because every similar question, exactly like it sounds like, will be a similar question. All right, so that's how practice tests work. I'll skip over for now. You have to get onto Honor. There's this little FAQ here with a video I made inside of it. But when that time comes, I'll make a further announcement. The other thing that I really want to focus here, you're going to spend most of your time here and below. These are the lecture videos with the homeworks. Every section, so starting with 1.1, has a lecture video, blank notes, filled out notes, and the corresponding homework problem. So I'll just go to 2.1 and I'll open up all these so I can kind of show you what each one is. So the lecture video, if you open it up, it's very literally me going through a video. So this is a video of me having a video in it of myself. But these are the notes that I go through and work for the lecture. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll explain alongside, and I'll have annotated notes. So it's not just, you know, me doing the problems, but there's extra explanation. The notes I go through are exactly these blank notes. So it's exactly this. I go through them in order. I do exactly these problems. So if you have like a tablet or an easy way to print this off, the best thing you could do is print this off and just fill out alongside. If you don't have a way to do that, you can of course record the notes in your own notebook. Just, you know, take a little bit of time to try to sketch out the problems and what's being done. I think it's very helpful instead of just, you know, not having, for example, a graph here. If you don't have a graph here, you can actually look back in your notes and look at the problem. All right, I also have the filled out notes. So what these are going to be exactly the notes I go through and the results from them. So you can see, you know, I go through, I answer the questions here, I plot the points, I label everything, and I even have, you know, sort of a description of what you do to do the problems. Now this section 2.1, part of it is supposed to be a little bit of a review, especially plotting points here. So this might look like a review anyway, but I go through and do these problems. And one thing I will recommend in general is I wouldn't go straight to these filled out notes. I would always focus on the blank notes with the lecture videos. Maybe afterwards you've gone through, you've done it. Maybe you just prefer the filled out note versions for yourself. You know, it's not what you wrote, but maybe you feel like it's more organized. You can, of course, use these as your filled out notes, but make sure you understand what's going on here. Otherwise, it's not going to be very helpful. The one thing I will point out as well, if you look at the homework assignment, so I opened up the homework assignment. I'll go ahead and start it for this section. It says, identify the location of each of the following points, and it lists off a bunch of ordered pairs. Well, if you look at the question, number one here, what did I do? I plotted and listed off where a whole bunch of points are. And that's exactly, well, it's part of what number one is. Number one is just identifying. Number two is actually plotting. So if you watch the video through this first problem, it should help you answer numbers 1 and 2. The reason why I'm describing this is because in general, I do not think it's a good idea to watch the entire lecture video, filling out the notes, and then going to the homework. I think it's a much better idea to watch 1 or 2 problems at a time, fill out the notes for them, of course, and then go to the homework. For the most part, the homework is exactly in the same order as the notes that I go through. So if you look at 2 problems in the notes, so we do this one, and then I do this one, and then you go through the homework, it's like, okay, I can do number 1 and 2, and I didn't really show you very closely, but you could also do numbers 3 and 4 based on that. So it's just something to keep in mind going forward. I do not recommend watching the entire lecture video at once. It's really hard, for one, to stay focused. You know, there's no doubt about that. it's very hard to stay focused, but most importantly, it's a lot easier to retain if you do something immediately after you see it, even if you're looking back at your notes. You know, if you're not doing it 100% on your own, that's not expected. You just want to be doing it with some assistance, and over time, and by the time the test comes around, you want to be able to do it on your own. All right, so that's really what's on this page, the home page of our Canvas site. It's that everything else really is structured below. There's no surprises after this. We go through all the sections all the way down to 13.2. There are some final exam review materials, which I will point out when we get to that point in the course. The one thing I did want to mention, I did say something about looking at the syllabus and introduction quiz. I'm not going to go through and answer these questions for you, but you know, the point of this quiz is to get 100 and understand mostly what this course is about, and what resources are there for you, how you should approach things. So the vast majority of these questions are true and false. There are some that are multiple choice, but you have 3 attempts at the quiz. So you should be able to get 100%, because after you answer a question and submit the quiz, if it's wrong, you know, it'll tell you what the right answer is. Just write down the right answer, but actually look at the right answer and explanations, because it can help you. And just go through and fill those problems out. They should help you answer some questions that you might have pop up throughout the semester as well. Don't expect you to remember everything that's in this video, everything that you answer in the introduction quiz. So I don't want to deter you from asking me questions, but just keep in mind that these 10 questions I have here are 10 of the main points that you want to get from this video. All right. From here on out, I'm just going to talk very quickly about the grades tab. As I mentioned, and I showed you before, the grades are updated automatically. But you can do what if grades. So let's say it's the end of the semester, you have to take the final exam. You want to know, what do I need on the final exam to get a particular grade? Well, you can play around and put in a grades. It'll just tell you this is a what if grade because you put it in. And then if you put this arrow, it'll put you back to where you are actually sitting at. Of course, this is a what if grade, so it's not like putting an 80 in here is going to make your final exam grade an 80, but kind of the way it sits here is what I've submitted. I have a 1%. If I got an 80% on the final exam, I'd have 50%. Doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but just the assignments I've shown you, that's how that works. And I guess another thing I want to point out is that the grouping categories are right here as well. So the same thing that's in your syllabus, discussions are worth 5%, and so on are all on this page. The discussions page, what that has, it's going to have the discussions, so you can access them through the home tab, but I also have them here in case you want to see them or access them differently. The honor lock tab, you don't ever really need to use this, because what's going to happen is every access to all the tests are going to be on the home page. So this page really is just for me. You don't really need to worry about looking at this. You can access and launch them from here, but you don't need to. And then the last one, this is an attendance tab. As far as I'm a test student, I really won't be able to see much. You might find this tab useful to see your attendance as we go through, but this tab also is really for me. I have to have it available so that I can actually record your attendance, and that's really all it's there for. So as a brief summary, you're going to spend almost all your time in the home tab. Almost every resource here is available for you. Remember, the syllabus has links to outside of class resources and things like that. You just go to academic resources, helps outside of class, and you can go through that. The grades tab is exactly what you would expect it to be, and you don't really need to go to any of the other tabs. So really, you only need these top 3 tabs. There will be one other tab as we go through the course. There's not any announcements currently because the course hasn't started, but there will be an announcements tab that pop up here. I'll send out weekly announcements on Mondays or Tuesday if there's a holiday on a Monday, stating, hey, this is what is due for the week. Just keep that in mind. The other thing I'd want to encourage you is that on the home tab, this is how you enter all your assignments. There is a to-do list, which I think is very useful. There's also a course calendar, which I also think is useful. You can kind of see the structure of everything that is due. So like we outlined, everything, all your homeworks are due on Fridays. All the quizzes are due and tests are due on Sundays. The exception is that the discussions really, they are partially due on Saturday, partially due on Sunday. So keep that in mind. But really, that's everything I have for this video. Should give you a good start on the way the classes run and everything that's really inside of it. But if you have any extra questions, feel free to reach out. Best of luck to you this semester, and I look forward to working with you and helping you out.